Reviews without drinking. What are you, my wife?
Put the lime in the coconut, you drink them both together. Put the lime in the coconut and you feel better. Put the lime in the coconut, drink them both up. Put the
Let's talk about some books. All right, so I got 5 books, 4, and I got a trade that I ordered in, so it's not brand new, but I'll talk about that after. I wasn't blown away this week. There's been some really good books out lately. Maybe the bar was set a little high. I got a couple more indie books here, so that could be part of it. Some newer writers and stuff. But I'm still going to give them a chance, and I'm liking the books. I'm just not loving them. So starting with Hinterkind, issue 6. I like these covers, actually. They got some neat watercolor painting sort of things going on all the covers. But inside the art is just, I struggle with it. It's that sketch style, but it doesn't look that great. The most distracting thing is the coloring. I've never noticed coloring that much in books. I'm not a huge visual art type guy, but it's just so distracting in this because he just does like lines and crosses to like represent shadows and different things like that, and it comes out looking. You notice it, you see it. It doesn't blend in. It's kind of like, in those old Archies when their faces weren't skin color, they were like red dots all over their face, but you don't notice it because it all kind of meshes. The pixels in your eye mesh and it all filters into one nice looking image. This doesn't do that. Like, it's kind of what it's going for and just doesn't work, and it frustrates me. The story itself has been not too bad. Like I've said before, a lot of characters, a lot of different things going on. I would have liked them to start a little slower and really establish the main characters before getting into so many different ones and different parties happening. But it's moving along. They're finally out of that basement area where they got trapped by the skin guys. They would cut off people's skin and sew it all on their faces, so they were kind of immortal. Their base has been sort of destroyed, and you have different groups on the run, different characters coming together who are kind of betraying each other. You don't trust them. But they're working together now and hopefully going to help each other out. The queen of the Hinterkind, who you kind of found out was more sympathetic to humans, you sort of see the other side to her. So where she doesn't want to just go and kill all the humans, she still is quite happy enslaving them and making them do a bunch of menial labor, and still considers the humans quite inferior to the Hinterkind. So it's kind of interesting to see her explored, see the humans sort of have a bit of rebellion. That's what you can see with this gunshot happening here. So the story's moving along, and they're out, and they're gonna continue to explore this world. One of the interesting things of this book is it's a really neat world where sort of society's fallen and everything's overgrown, which I think is a really cool concept, and I would like to see more of that. So I was kind of disappointed when we got a glimpse of it, and then they're into this dungeon basement type facility. Not a bad book. Not great. $2.99. The other thing is, this book just seems to be going as cheap as possible. I guess to keep it at $2.99. Like, the pages, you can just tell, are a really thin, low quality page. There's a fair amount of ads, and the back of this book is a huge preview for American Vampire, like a 5 or 6 page preview. So you can just tell they're doing whatever they can to get the funding, because I'm guessing that, like, you look at Saga, they have no ads, and like Brian K. Vaughan's pretty established, but I think you can also choose to do that or not to do that, and they probably just make less of a profit. So a little distracting, but that's okay. Wild Blue Yonder, number 4. Finally, this book, it started coming out in like September or something like that, and it's just been creeping along. So trying to remember what was happening in the story and everything. This book, it's an IDW independent story. It's about sort of sky pirate type guys. Another post-apocalyptic type world, but everybody's taken to the air. They have a ship that's called the Dawn it doesn't need fuel. So everybody else in the world is sort of desperate to find fuel, and it never has to land. It's solar powered, and so it's a hot commodity. We get a look at the villain in this book, and I think the villain in any story is equally as important to the protagonist a lot of the time, and This one, he's okay. He's a little bland. They had a long sort of dialogue that wasn't that great. To have like 2 or 3 pages of dialogue, like it's got to be really sharp, I think, to hold my attention and be about something interesting. And you do get a good look at what he's about and where he's going from, and kind of some interesting depth to him, which I thought sort of set him apart from just being sort of a tyrant villain type character. There's a little more to him, so that was nice. And the story, you get a bit of a surprise as to different allegiances with some of the characters in the story. Hearts breaking. It feels like it sort of jumped ahead really fast. Like the story was sort of all establishing the characters and the world, and then it jumped a huge step in the plot here. So I don't know how long this one's planned to go, but yeah, it was good. Good book. Not a lot of action, a lot of talking, a lot of intrigue, that kind of thing, but a setup for the next month, which is hopefully going to be a big air battle here, which is kind of what everyone's been prepping for the whole time. What else? Afterlife with Archie. This series has been really great. I've loved it so much so far. This one I liked, but it was my least favorite so far. I'm not sure why. Maybe I just got caught at a weird time when I was reading and just wasn't as into it. I don't know. They kind of introduced Archie's dog at the beginning and established that. And I don't remember Archie ever having a dog. I don't know if they just created that for this issue, and maybe that's why I wasn't as into it, because all the previous issues have been based around characters I've known and loved and have a certain innocent, nostalgic factor to them for me. And then you see them totally corrupted and destroyed and turned into zombies, and I like that. It was good. It was still solid. I don't know what it was. It was just, there was a lot of panels that didn't have dialogue and stuff, I guess. So maybe I was just kind of firing through it a little bit too fast. Should probably give another read. We kind of find out what happens with Archie and his family as he goes back to save his parents in Riverdale. You get another quick glance at sort of the awkward, weird relationship with Cheryl Blossom and her brother, and some creepiness between them. So set up for the future. There's a little 2-page or 3-page mini story in the back, like a miniature horror story, which I thought was actually better than the issue, about these thieves who try to go rob this rich old widow. So that was really entertaining. Yeah, but it was good, not great. Again, I don't know. Maybe I was just bitter this week, guys. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm tired, and I'm happy. I'm pumped having an extra kid around, but I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't into it. Swamp Thing, number 29. This is the first Swamp Thing book I've ever read in its entirety, and I really enjoyed it. I've heard a lot of good things from you guys about Swamp Thing. Seems really kind of like an interesting character. Interesting. I like that. I love the idea of elementals. So like the nature elemental, I think, is really fascinating to me. And I love his character design. He just looks badass and he looks cool. He looks like a guy you'd want to hang out with. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, just how he's designed. He's like just ripped and big and strong. And I don't know what it is about him, but pretty cool. I like the setup of the story. A few, like, I'm just jumping into it, and I was kind of able to figure out who these characters sort of were. There was 2 people who seemed like they had been turned human, who I think were probably like him or somewhere connected with the forest at some point and brought into the real world. So they're kind of awkwardly stumbling around human society, not really knowing how to act. And then some other characters who talk really seriously, who I didn't really know who they were, but they were sort of there to explain stuff to Swamp Thing and the audience about who this group is, who's sort of there to supposedly serve and worship the Swamp Thing avatar. So yeah, I was at the end. It was kind of like Daredevil, I guess, when you jump in and you don't know as much what's going on, and I think you get taken in by the things that are happening and the intrigue a little more, because you don't know which characters are safe and which aren't. Like, you don't know if someone's hanging there, if he's actually going to be dead. It's not like a Mary Jane situation where you know Mary Jane's not going to die. And if she does, you know she'll come back. So when you don't know these characters and you're brand new, it's kind of fun because it's all fresh and anything can happen. So yeah, good book. excited to see where it's going to go. Good setup to the story. Good jumping on point if you guys are like me and have never read Swamp Thing. Get on it, because that's probably my favorite book this week. Well, not including Deathmatch. This is volume 2. I got the first one half off at my comic store for $5. And I loved it. So I picked up the second one. There's 3 of them. If you guys haven't read this, like, it's one of these books where the title really, I think, doesn't do the book justice. Like, it sort of fits for what the story is, but it's so much better than this corny title. And you see that title and you just, like, you roll your eyes. It's kind of the superior foes of Spider-Man type syndrome, I think, where you hear superior foes of Spider-Man, you're like, okay, like, that sounds kind of terrible. I don't really, you don't even give it a second thought or a chance, really. But man, it is such a good book, guys. It's so fun. It's really creative how when the battles go, the writers do some really creative things with how each character beats the opposing character, whatever. There's an interesting one in here where a guy who's like he's kind of like the Phantom Stranger. He's sort of this shadow creature who sort of represents faith and religion and spiritual. And he's squared up against the smartest man in the world who is all like about science and logic and math. And it's interesting when they duel and they have sort of a verbal duel. It's about their own like belief systems almost coming into combat with each other. So it's really interesting. And then how the I won't tell you, but one character wins is genius. So they're all trying to solve this mystery as they're going. It's like at the core of it, it is a mystery story. So I think that's what really intrigues me. And the characters are interesting. Each one of them sort of has this feel that it has depth and everything. And the actual individual issues, they give you a little background of all the characters and fake like histories and things like that, like as if it were based on a real superhero universe that's been around for a while. There's events and things which like fit in and seem like they fit. So you know when you read a story and you can just, a character has depth, even though he doesn't necessarily get a long time or he's not around for a lot, you know that you just get this sense, the way the characters talk to each other and talk about him and interact, that there's something to this person. They're not just a cookie cutter type character. So yeah, awesome battle between like a Joker and Batman type character in here too, where they're forced to go down on a death match. Oh, it's so good, guys. So I'm excited to get the third part of this and finish up because I think it's only 12 issues. So guys, check this out. If you find it cheap or whatever, buy the first one. The first issue is $1. So pick it up. I can't say enough good things about this book. And this is Boom Studios, so I always like supporting some of the other guys too. So yeah, that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Got a video response previous to this one to one of Ghost Critic's question, just discussing some interesting things about comics. Are we in a new age of comics or not? And some signs that maybe things are changing. And he actually, if you look on that video and look at his comment, he quoted an article by, I forget his first name, Stevenson's his last name, Richard Stevenson's maybe. And he's an image guy. And at a recent event, he made a big speech sort of talking about Star Wars not being the real, they'll never be the real thing with comics, and really pushing comics to the next level and pushing it on a mass audience and expanding who reads comics and things. Really interesting article. It's actually become a little bit controversial. Lots of people talking about it. So read that article, and if you're interested, look up some responses, because he's got some great points, and some people aren't too happy with what he said. So check it out. Let me know what you think. And take care, guys. We'll see you soon. I got some new keys. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to make a video or not. I got 3 right now. So is that enough? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Put the lime in the coconut, you drink them both together. Put the lime in the coconut and you feel better. Put the lime in the coconut.